Talking about the greatest console flops in gaming history. 1989, two handheld consoles come out, the Game Boy and the Atari Lynx. Pretty much the same thing, except for the Lynx had a color screen, rich sound, and the ability to network up to 4 units wirelessly. It was also ambidextrous, allowing players to flip the unit so the D-pad and buttons were exactly where they wanted them. So naturally, it went unloved as a cat made of poison, while the Game Boy was crowned undisputed king. Why? Probably because it was as big as a boogie board and thick enough to murder a hobo. But it will always be remembered for the features.
The Atari Lynx sound quality is so good, it makes every game seem more realistic.
That's right, sounds so good you won't notice you've been murdered in a hail of gunfire. The Philips CDI. There is literally nothing good to say about the Philips CDI. Overpriced at $700, unfocused in its content ranging from the Bernstein Bears to an adult-only version of the game show Joker's Wild, and several of the most embarrassing appearances of a few legendary gaming characters. Thanks to an old deal with Nintendo, Philips had the rights to produce titles from the Zelda and Mario franchises. To show off the full video capabilities of the hardware, they were packed with horrifying cutscenes. How bad, you wonder?
I wonder what's for dinner.
Oh boy! I'm so hungry, I could eat an Octorok!
Luckily, the CDI sold under 600,000 units in its entire life cycle and was quickly forgotten, like the time I ate that Octorok. The Gizmondo. You might not be familiar with the Gizmondo, but it easily has the most compelling story out of the entire bunch here. Released in 2005, the Gizmondo from Tiger featured a few cool ideas, including a mobile ad platform that they hope would subsidize the cost of hardware, and a few decent games with highly questionable names like Sticky Balls. 1 year later, it was revealed that the masterminds behind the console, Stefan Eriksson and Carl Freer, were using the money from Tiger to fund an elaborate lifestyle, including yachting, $1,000 lap dances, and a fleet of European sports cars, including one Enzo Ferrari, which Eriksson crashed at 162 miles an hour on the PCH. Meanwhile, the Gizmondo languished and died. Better to burn bright and disappear than fade away in Hotel Mario, I guess. The Virtual Boy. It's hard to overstate just how obsessed the early 90s was with virtual reality. You had Lawnmower Man and that Aerosmith video where the kid hides his polygon in Alicia Silverstone while riding a motorcycle. You remember that part, right? So 1995 rolls around and Nintendo decides to capitalize on it with the Virtual Boy. Finally, 3D gaming and a goofy-looking visor we've always dreamed of. In less than a year, Nintendo pulls the plug. The gameplay was subpar, the graphics weren't 3D in any kind of revolutionary way, and the monochromatic visuals were uninspiring to say the least. It didn't sell at $180 nor at any of the price drops afterwards, as consumers became aware that Alicia Silverstone was not a playable level on any of the titles. Number 1, the Sega Dreamcast. Dreamcast gets a bad rap as the console that killed Sega's hardware ambitions. Sure, it was the straw that broke the camel's back, but before you turn up your nose, dig on this. First, the Dreamcast is widely understood to be far ahead of its time. It was the pioneer of online console gaming, and it featured inventive, awesome titles like Crazy Taxi and Jet Grind Radio. And while it would ultimately get overtaken by the PlayStation 2, in all ways, this was the true creative successor to the original Genesis. The real culprit for this murder lies in the rogues gallery that came between the Genesis and the Dreamcast. In just the year and a half it was available, the Dreamcast sold about 10.3 million units. That's well over half of the combined 16 million unit sales of the Sega CD, Saturn, and 32X combined. Sega ultimately needed a massive breakout with the Dreamcast, and it never got the chance to breathe because it wasn't a phenomenon right out of the gate. Good night, sweet Dreamcast, and flights of angels sing thee to thy rest.